Now, the recording industry and that aspect of the record business is fairly new. We're not going to go as far back as the creation of the microphone or, any of that early technology. We go to the point where we get recorded music distributed. So the thing is, before, as we talked about, you could only consume it if you were there and experience the music that way. And that goes for like theater, all that stuff. So music was pretty much the same way. You sit there, you watch the band, the orchestra, the guy on the street, the dude with the guitar or the drums. You consumed it that way. But then got this technology where you could record and playback stuff, right? And that's from the consumer point, where you could get records that would get played on the radio or on radio stations, right? So that was very different, because now it's more of a on-demand type of thing. We watch what we want, or we listen to what we want when we want, right? For the most part. And that sort of thing was around for a few decades, right? So you had the radio. We could say, let's just date this at the 30s. We're not going to get it all the way down. As we go along, let me know what you think about what I am talking about at the moment in the chat. So then you get that. But then you get to a point where people get enough money and funds to be able to own some of those records. And you had TV. So when TV got big and it got into a lot of households, you would get different qualities, right? Because certain people had black and white TVs, certain people had color TVs, and you could watch shows where your favorite artists and bands were performing. So at that point, people weren't necessarily consuming the same music in the same ways, because it all comes down to the equipment that you have, right? If your speakers on your TV are different than the person next door, then you're probably going to be getting a very different experience than those people. So let's just fast forward through all that to the 60s, where we talked about in the 60s, you had people who had record players, and then in a party atmosphere, you could have people come over and you consume the music that way. So you didn't have to always go to shows. So you had where it could be a more intimate setting, and then it was a lot more accessible to people. So you have those intimate settings of, hey, I'm just sitting at home by myself and I get to listen to this music this specific way. And let's just say people did have the same technologies, the same equipment, then they would hear the exact same thing that the next person heard. Before that, I could hear a band play one day and then someone else go and listen some other way, another day where this band is playing, and we get two different shows. So when we get together and we talk about the shows, we both can say how, hey, when I was there, I seen it this way, right? And when you were there, he said this and done this. And, sort of like right now where you still do have concerts and stuff, where in different cities, you could possibly get different shows. You may have guest appearances and stuff like that. So that shapes the way that we think of the music and the artists who we're consuming. And then you take it there into a club where you get a bunch of people dancing together, partying together, and it's kind of active, but I think it's also really passive, because you're not actually really consuming that music. It's more like social, right? So then that's when you're starting to add in those different contexts to listen to music. You get the social aspect, and you get the party dance atmosphere. You get the intimate stuff at home. You get the visuals, and then it all comes together with the advent of the music video. Music video, everybody watches the same video on varying qualities. So you have some people with bigger screens, black and white screens, small screens, bad speakers, good speakers, but everybody gets to view the same music video, coupling it together, where if you were listening before then on the radio or just the record that you had, you could only go by the visual that was a part of that record if you had it printed, album covers in that way. So then, you get the album covers, you get to see the person, but then the music videos come out, and now you get to see another side of people, and then really starting to interview artists and stuff on dedicated channels such as MTV, where I guess you could say their personal life and other parts of their personalities could come out to us a little more, because that was happening a lot more than the few shows that you had in earlier times. Doogie54 says a lot of people still buy vinyl. Yes, exactly. So that's where we're going to get to, because a lot of people are still consuming music the same ways that they did back in the day. And we were, a lot of it is that people are consuming in different ways. Some people may get it, like I said, on TV, where we got up to there. A lot of people started watching music videos, and that was the way you discover artists, and radio, where this is the only place that I'm listening, right? And then some people begin to get vinyl and 8-tracks, right? Which a sort of different quality. And then we can move on to the cassettes as we know them, and then to CDs. I did a poll on the community tab, and I asked the question, do you still listen to music on CDs? Why? Now, coming up, the question was really not that simple, because it was, you have different aspects that you could think of. Like, do you listen to music mostly on CDs, right? So we could go through some of your comments so we could see what some of the people said on that poll. So let me wait for this to load, but let me know if you answered the poll, and let me know right now if you still listen to music on CDs, vinyl. What medium do you listen to your music on now? A lot of the people said that the quality of CDs is better than streaming now. So CD, when it came around, it was more expensive than cassettes, but a lot of people really like the quality of CDs better, because you could, when from the consumer side, remember I said different people listen to different things on different mediums. So even with records and stuff, you get some people who have cheaper record players, or just the manufacturers make them differently. So if I'm playing a vinyl or certain cassettes, and the quality of the medium that I'm listening to on isn't that great, then I'm going to get something that could be like a cheaper CD player, where the CD player is going to sound a lot better than on cassette, where I may have a lot of hiss and stuff and like that. And with vinyls, where you're going to have a lot of crackling and that sort of thing. But fast forwarding to, let's just say you had your MP3 players, such as the Zoom, the iPod, stuff like that, where it was pretty close, right? So CD ended up being a digital format, and the conversion to MP3, you could get basically the same quality, because a CD is going to cap the quality of the music, right? Because you're just chopping up the song and squeezing it all together into a song. And then if people are converting it from CD to some digital format, then all you're going to get is at least that same quality from the CD. But now it's different, where people make music digitally, and you don't have to rely on a conversion from a CD, which may be lower quality, where you can put out higher quality MP3s, waves, there's a bunch of different types of ways you can serve music digitally. But the stuff that we're listening on now doesn't serve it as well, because even through a coax cable, you could get that good higher quality. A lot of it is people want the levels really loud. So a coax cable, you're going to get some really good quality out of that. But the thing is, when we're going wireless and talking about Bluetooth, it takes a lot to send those signals wirelessly to the equipment. So you're going to get some downgrading through the air. And then they are putting systems in place where we can't really listen to the music as high quality as we want to. But it's really crazy how that is. Let's go and check out some of the things you had to say in chat. Let me know from the listener end, what do you think about the way that music has gone? A lot of people in the poll said that CD is a higher quality. And one of the reasons is that because we're getting some quality downgrades when we're trying to send the signal through the air, and it's going to get a lot better But you can get higher quality digitally than what we consider CDs, if you really think about it. But and some people talked about lossless formats, which is really a misnomer, because anytime you go in digital, you're going to lose out a lot of the song. Because if you don't know, real quick, I'll explain it. You have a song. Let's say this is the song. I don't want to use that. What do I have? Give me an empty one. Oh, that's perfect. I have a song right here. This is the full song. And all you do, you chop it up. Each line is a different segment of the song. And I take some of those segments out, piece it all back together where your ear can't even notice that some of those samples were taken out. And that is what's happening every time you're doing something digitally, because you can only rely on zeros and ones, and you're missing out something every time because a wave isn't chopped up. You take the wave, chop the wave up, piece it back together, bam. So you get lower quality in essence. That is why a lot of people love analog so much and analog equipment. But yeah, Gutter Boy says, never giving up on my vinyls. What up, Gutter Boy? So nowadays, are they making really good turntables for the consumer at a reasonable price where we can say, hey, let's go ahead and listen to vinyl? Now, right now, a lot of people in the poll talked about how space is an issue, where you had these huge collections, and once you kind of get away from that, then you notice that, I'm saving a lot of space, and it's inconvenient to be driving and trying to find CDs or even have vinyl player or a turntable in your car to listen on the go. So a lot of it is going to be convenience.